Welcome to 5 Minutes with Pastor Lutzer. If you've been with us during the last episodes, you know that I've been discussing my book, No Reason to Hide, Standing for Christ in a Collapsing Culture. I've given you simply a very brief overview. I wrote this book because I was interested in the pressure points that Christians are facing today in our culture wars. And I need to emphasize that we did not go looking for the culture wars. They came to us. But we're near the end. Next time we will end this series. But for today, I'm going to discuss a chapter where I talk about the Great Global Reset. I quote the words of Klaus Schwab, who wrote the book by that title, and he was, of course, the founder of the World Economic Forum. The Bible says in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, that in the end time, Antichrist is going to rule, and all who dwell upon the face of the earth shall worship him, except those whose names were written in the Lamb's book of life from before the foundation of the world. Think this through. At the end time, there is going to be worldwide religious unity, worldwide political unity, and worldwide economic unity, because it goes on to say that those who do not have the mark of the beast will not be able to buy or sell. Well, this is a huge topic. What's involved in globalism? Just going to give you a list of 2 or 3 things that are important. First of all, a borderless world. After all, we're being told today that to believe in borders is racist. I need to emphasize that in my book, I talk about God's view of borders. God was in favor of borders. As a matter of fact, when it came to Abraham, God actually gave very many specifics as to where the borders should be. God is in favor of citizenship. The Apostle Paul used his citizenship, and Jesus told a parable in which he said that there was the citizen of this country. Citizenship, borders, completely biblical. But nonetheless, there are those who are advocating for a borderless world. The other thing that they want is cryptocurrency, and you can understand why. Can you imagine that if cash were no more, if it were eliminated, how we could run everything with cryptocurrency electronically? All transactions would be recorded. We'd be able to trace all kinds of deals, and so this is very attractive. China here is ahead of us, and Klaus Schwab admits that. And then something else that is important is contact tracing. That is to say, where we come to the point where we will know exactly where people are. As a matter of fact, it is Klaus Schwab who says that there'll come a time when we will know, or the government will know, or the hospital will know what disease you have before you do. That's the world in which we are headed, and China often is used as an example of the extent to which technology can control people. Now, Klaus Schwab does say explicitly there are going to be all kinds of discussions regarding civil rights, regarding individual rights, but he says when the next pandemic comes, people will be so filled with fear they will be willing to give up their civil rights in order to survive. One other thing I discuss in that chapter, and that is Superman. It is to be transhuman. Did you know that work is going on today so that they can connect a computer to the human brain? Theoretically, you could sit down on a chair and scroll through the entire internet. We're not there yet, but we're on our way. You say, "Oh, Pastor Lutzer, what do we do with all this? We live in such a confusing, frightful world." Well, I have good news for you. Chapter 13 of the book of Revelation talks about the beast ruling, but chapter 12 tells us how to respond. I love that passage. It says they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. My dear friend, when you think of Antichrist, when you think of what is happening in the world, put all that evil up against Jesus, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and we are overcomers, no matter what happens in our future. Thanks so much for joining us today, and join me next time as we conclude our study of No Reason to Hide. But as for today, you just go with God.
Thanks for joining us for 5 Minutes with Pastor Lutzer. Moody Church Media exists to bring glory to God through the transformation of lives, and we believe this can happen through solid biblical teaching. Access our resources at moodymedia.org or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Moody Church Media. Join us next Monday as we continue to explore the deep truths of the Bible and the Christian faith together.